What is going on, Guardians, and welcome back to another Destiny gameplay video. In this video I'm going to be talking about sort of our expectations for what's on the horizon for Destiny 2, what you can expect to sort of see and hear along the way, what that timeline's probably going to look like. So first and foremost, we got to talk about the highly anticipated day, May 18th. So, if you've been living under a rock or you just have not really cared to stay in touch with some of the details and news regarding Destiny 2, we have been told by Bungie that May 18th will be the day that they will first reveal some Destiny 2 gameplay, some actual gameplay from Destiny 2. So we get to see what the game's going to look like, or at least currently in its current stage of development. So that's what we're waiting for, is really May 18th. That is the next milestone that is going to dictate sort of where we go from here. So what can you expect to see on May 18th? Because they say gameplay, but what really are we expecting? So there's a few different things that I think we're going to see on May 18th. This is what I think we can look forward to in terms of the information we're actually going to get with this gameplay. The very first thing is we're going to see subclass retooling or repurposing. Not replacing. I think that my understanding is that we're probably going to stick with the same archetypes of subclasses. Maybe they'll add more, but I think that we're at least we're going to have gunslingers and strikers and void walkers. I think I think we're still going to have defenders. I think the core subclasses are going to be there. I think they're all going to be there. But my assumption is that they're going to retool them, repurpose them a bit. It's not going to be Destiny 1 all over again. I think that you're going to see things like new abilities, new utility, maybe a little bit more of niche style, subclasses. So, in Destiny 1, you can play any subclass, and a lot of things go unchanged, like how much damage you can take, how fast you can move relative. I mean, I'm not talking about Titan skating. I mean just general player movement speed. All these things are the same roughly. Recovery stats, right? You can. There's very little differentiation from subclass to subclass. So I think that we may see more unique roles for the subclasses, like more things outside of just abilities, but maybe sort of passive things, traits and characteristics about the subclasses that are going to be different from one to the next. Maybe hunters will actually be faster, more agile, more nimble. Maybe titans will actually have more damage resistance. Maybe they can actually take more damage at the expense of movement speed. And maybe even recovery. Maybe warlocks will actually recover damage a lot more quickly than the other subclasses. I don't know, I can only speculate, but I think that we're going to see subclass changes. Some retooling, some repurposing, some redefining the boundaries, the parameters that define the subclasses that we've come to know and love. So that's what I think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to show like all the subclasses. I don't think you're going to see all 3 Titans, all 3 Hunters, and all 3 Warlocks. My guess is they're going to start with the bare bones and tease us a little bit and just kind of show us how these subclasses are going to perform a little bit differently in the sequel. So that's the first thing I think we're going to see. That's my first expectation. The next thing I think we're going to see, obviously, is a basic story introduction. Outside of, the only thing we have to go off of right now is the trailer, the first trailer, the cinematic trailer that we got. Obviously, the city being sacked by the Cabal and Gary, right? So I don't think that they're going to resolve any of that per se. They're not going to show us any of the resolution of how that's going to play out. I think what they're going to do is they're going to expound on the problem. So I think we can expect to get a better picture of what the problem is, the conflict, and every conflict needs a really good antagonist, right? One of the things that made Borderlands 2 so wildly successful is that even before release, everyone who was following the Borderlands franchise both knew, loved, and hated Handsome Jack. Like, he's such a fantastic protagonist. It's one of the reasons that game was so successful, and is actually still played, streamed, content is still being created for Borderlands 2, because that game has such a phenomenal antagonist. And I think that Destiny 2 is going to continue on. My assumption, my expectation is that they're going to give us an antagonist that we're going to both love and hate. One that we're going to love to hate, right? We're going to get fired up like, oh, I can't wait. Maybe it's Gary. Maybe it's a different antagonist. Who knows? But I think that we're going to get a bad guy that we're just going to get jazzed about taking down, right? So that's what I think we're going to see in terms of story. I think they're just going to expound on the conflict and give us a great bad guy. That's what I would expect to see with the gameplay reveal. The last thing is I think we're going to see this is probably going to be lower on the priority list for what they're going to show us, but I think that we're going to see something that's loot related, gear related, that's going to get us fired up. Maybe they're just going to show us a really cool exotic weapon or a really cool piece of exotic armor that is in the game that we're just going to see that and be like, "Duh! If there's stuff like this in this game, I have to have it," right? Because that kind of follows, I think all of these things sort of follow the trends that we've seen so far in the teasers. I mean, right, we got Cade with the last thing that you go out on with that trailer is there's going to be a ton of loot, right? And all the cheering, right? That's one of the more memorable moments of that trailer. So I think they're going to continue on that trend. And they introduced Gary, right? Goal, whatever, I don't know. So that's why I think that these are our expectations. We're going to see subclass retooling, just basic stuff. We're going to get more story introduction in terms of the conflict and the antagonist. And lastly, we're going to see a little bit of gear. That's my expectation for May 18th. I think that's going to be the precedent for everything that follows. And I think that that's really going to tee us up for all the other reveals and news and updates that will happen along the way. So I'm very excited. One of my most anticipated days of this year is May 18th. I am so jazzed for that day. I can't wait to see gameplay. I can't wait to really see what the next couple of years is going to look like for the Destiny community. I hope that you're excited as well. Feel free to let me know in the comment section what some of your expectations, hopes, desires are for this day and what you hope to see. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope to catch you in the Crucible.